Women have come such a long way since the beginning of time, from female slaves and concubines to ruling female monarchs, and to women winning our rights to be seen and heard, not just in the private sphere, but in the public sphere. And it's no wonder that us women today feel a connection to warrior women, not only in world history, but in pop culture as well. We know that in our history, our rights had to be fought for. Even today, women are still fighting to be seen as equal to men in their workspace, at home, and elsewhere. Sometimes we fantasize about giving those who treat us wrong a piece of our mind, right? And when we can't act on those thoughts, we naturally turn to figures that could. In this episode, we are going to explore the history of pop culture, and I am going to give you the top 5 women warrior in pop culture history. These warrior women still have a fan base today and are still being looked up to in times of change, in times of crisis, and in times of need. Now, before I give you my list of top 5 warrior women, I think that it would be fun for you to think about your top 5 first and see if maybe we end up with some or all of the same characters. So I'm going to start from 5 and work my way down to 1 being my ultimate choice of the most inspiring figures in pop culture. This Chinese female warrior was based on an actual legendary warrior. The only child of an aging war veteran, she disregards both tradition and the law by disguising herself as a man in order to enlist herself in the army in lieu of her feeble father. As an oppressed young woman who ultimately elopes to Europe to be with a British prince. However, the director of the movie, Tony Bancroft, who was inspired by the well-being of his own daughters, wanted his young female warrior to be a different, unique kind of heroine. One who is strong, independent, and whose fate did not depend upon a male character. She is the Disney warrior princess, Mulan. Now, what I like about Mulan is that she proves to her Confucian style and patriarchal type community that a woman can be a great warrior. A woman is capable of doing a man's job and of being seen as a great leader. And that women do not have to stay cooped up at home with the traditional bound feet, only there to produce children. She can evolve and grow into something more. That's what I love about Mulan. Now, she was based on a real Chinese legend named Hua Mulan. So if you're interested in her personal story, then I definitely recommend that you research her. This original Marvel girl, created by Stan Lee, is one of my all-time favorite Marvel characters for 2 reasons. 1, she reminds me of the mythological goddess Athena in that she represents the balance between war and peace and the balance between life and death. She looks like she can't do much, only if you trigger her, she can completely destroy you in seconds. 2nd, I gravitate toward her character because her symbol or counterpart rises from the ashes just when you think her or her team are going to lose. So who is this Marvel character? Well, she is none other than Jean Grey from X-Men. Now, Jean represents the struggle within us that we as human beings struggle with. Do I become who others want me to be, or can I become who I'm destined to become and evolve into the best version of myself? Now, in Jean's story, she struggles with balancing her counterpart, the Dark Phoenix. It is almost like a possession. She can't always stop, and it can take control of her completely. But like in the X-Men movies, what is able to ground her powers and her mind is her X-Men family, the love she feels when she looks at them. Now, in the comics, it's a little bit different, and it's a little more complicated to explain her Dark Phoenix counterpart and how she became the Phoenix and then evolved into more and so forth. Now, in the Marvel Encyclopedia, the newest edition, Jean takes up a whole 2 pages. So her story is complicated, it's long, and it also proves that the X-Men movies have, I guess you can say, rearranged Jean's story, probably to try and make sense of her complicated storyline where she dies and is resurrected, becomes a dark phoenix and dies and is resurrected again, that becomes a white phoenix and dies and is reborn again, all while Scott Summers eventually takes on all the Phoenix power and becomes Dark Phoenix himself and kills Professor X. It's very complicated. And it's all very confusing, but nonetheless, she is my favorite because she keeps coming back as a better version each time, shedding the skin of the past and coming back more wise, and nothing can really bring her down. This female warrior is a newer character in pop culture and is in a popular TV series where she slays the undead. Her character gets the audience's attention through emotion, as she has to survive a zombie apocalypse without her son, who died during the first days or so of the apocalypse. She is a mother without her child, and in grief, goes out with a mission to slay each zombie. Along her journey, she meets not only a community of good people, but ends up discovering that maybe love and friendship is not dead after all. And with this love comes new life. She is, if you haven't guessed already, Michonne from The Walking Dead. As a mother myself, I cannot imagine what it would be like to lose my child in such a traumatic way. I too would be so grief-stricken that I would go out with a vengeance and try to rid the world of each zombie. It takes a very strong person to let go of that heartache, which feels like death itself, and surrender to the one that she knows loves her and allows for their friendship and love to heal her wounds. Michonne is such a great example of a warrior woman in pop culture today. She represents that no matter how low you get and no matter the devastation you go through, there will always be an opportunity to heal, gain a support system to help you, and to believe in love and friendship again. Now for this one, it's back to the 90s. This female warrior realized her ability to slay evil when she was only in high school. Moving to Sunnydale, she meets her two best friends, Xander and Willow, and her watcher, who's also her father figure, Giles, who had also just moved to Sunnydale to be close to his new charge. She also meets a tall, dark, and handsome vampire, which later becomes her boyfriend, Angel. So who is she? If I haven't made it obvious already, she is Buffy the Vampire Slayer. She is definitely my number 2 because she inspires young girls and women still to this day to fight against the forces of darkness internally and externally. She represents the confidence that most young women and girls struggle to hold within themselves. Buffy inspires us to fight for what we believe in and to always protect the ones we love. She motivates us to be the hero in our own life, whatever that looks like. Buffy also struggles to make tough decisions, but she knows she has to make it in order to save the world, save her friends, save her family. And this is something that we go through in life too. Sometimes we have to make tough decisions to protect the ones we love. So I think that Buffy fits right into the number 2 spot here. Now, all the other women were difficult to grade, but this one was very easy for me. The top warrior woman in pop culture history is a character that represents every single one of the representations that I listed in the previous women. This woman represents it all. The struggle between right and wrong, the balance between war and peace, the one who will sacrifice everything for the ones that she loves. This story of this warrior princess takes place 7,000 years ago in ancient Greece. During the times of the ancient gods, warlords, and kings, where a land in turmoil cried out for a hero, she was the mighty princess forged in the heat of battle. Her courage changed her world and also inspired women and young women to fight for the greater good. So who is this warrior woman taking the number 1 spot? She is none other than Xena the warrior princess. Now, before Xena had become this warrior for good, she had walked down the path of darkness. She made terrible mistakes, and soon after realizing how much her evilness devastated the world, she set out on a journey, a hero's journey, if you will, of self-discovery, and to understand why she made the wrong choices she did. Along her journey, she meets her soulmate, Gabrielle, after Gabrielle's village was being attacked by a warlord and his army. This was the first act of good that Xena wanted to do in order to start her path of redemption. Xena travels back to the places where she caused chaos and bloodshed, to seek forgiveness and to find ways to give back. Gabrielle, recognizing Xena's genuine fight for forgiveness, she travels with Xena to learn from her and to become a warrior just like her and to fight for good. Xena at first says no, that the warrior journey is not a walk in the park. The path changes the person into a figure of war. Gabrielle, sensing it's her path to take anyway, she sets off with Xena, and as time goes on, they become extremely close, often making the audience think whether or not they're an actual couple. That is the great thing about Xena. In this series, it makes the audience think about the real world events. During this time, the AIDS epidemic was at its peak and people were overreacting as if same-sex partnership was something new and against nature. Xena, although not openly discussing the issue, insinuates that she and Gabrielle are in a relationship, but doesn't actually state that they are. The question is thrown up in the air to let the audience decide for themselves. In episodes of Xena, other characters question their relationship, and Xena often comments with something like, "Well, what if we are? You got a problem with that?" Or something to that effect. And gradually, she brings in the audience to accept that homosexuality is nothing unnatural and in fact has been normal since ancient times. So Xena basically says to the situation and to the audience, grow up. Another reason why Xena is my number one spot is because the struggles to get forgiveness from those she's hurt in the show, she often runs across those characters who know of Xena because they saw her and her soldiers destroying their homes, killing their families. And these are situations that Xena runs into, but she doesn't stop trying to make the world a better place, traveling all over the world with Gabrielle, looking for opportunities to defend the innocent and protect their lands and homes. Again, this is a story of redemption. The warrior aspect of Xena is inspiring and motivating to women in that you can be feminine, but have the guts to defend yourself against bad people like a warrior man would. There is this balance of the feminine and the masculine that Xena inspires us to balance within ourselves. Now, you can't have Xena without Gabrielle. And Gabrielle is a character I really wanted to include in the ranking, but I just didn't see her as the number 2 or the number 3 spot. I see her equal to Xena. Gabrielle inspires us to seek the same balance as well, but her hero's journey is a little different. She struggles to accept that she's truly a warrior. She was destined to spread love and compassion, but how can she do that if she's having to spread a little blood to fight the bad people who are killing innocent people? She feels that bloodshed is sometimes inevitable. But she doesn't fully accept that warrior path until much later in the series. The relationship between Xena and Gabrielle is another reason why women today are still inspired by the show. The two never give up on each other, and they struggle sometimes to accept the choices that the other one makes, but at the end of the day, they will die for each other. And this is a friendship that people want in life, a real friendship that doesn't manipulate or can easily turn their back on you. It makes the audience think about who you let in your inner circle. Now, spoiler alert, if you are interested in watching Xena, stop the video because I'm about to talk about the ending of the series. In the last episodes, Xena had to face a major mistake that she had made in her past, which ultimately costed her life. But Xena was willing to die to correct the mistakes that she made so that innocent souls would be saved. So you see how Xena kind of represents it all. She's a mother, she's a warrior, she's a peacemaker, a true friend, a protector, a nurturer, and someone who walked in the shadows of evil and was strong enough to look in the mirror and shed herself of her evil ways with the intention of living a life of redemption and accepting her mistakes. Now, if you have Amazon Prime, then you have access to Amazon Prime shows and movies. The only way I think that you can watch all seasons of Xena now are in Prime Video. So I definitely recommend that you should go and watch. But keep in mind, this series and even Buffy were filmed in the 90s. So all of the special effects and so forth are not as up to date, but the action and the fighting and the storyline are still very much inspiring and thought provoking. So I think that you would enjoy. Now, before you go, don't forget, hit that subscribe button, like and share this episode, and respectfully comment down below with your thoughts and your top 5 list. I am curious to know if we share some of the same characters. And let's start a conversation. Well, until next time, as always, keep loving history and stay curious. Bye.